Thank you again for joining us. I want to start off this devotion just with a little bit of humor. Not that I always go to humor, but I think it fits in what we looked at Sunday and going to briefly look at here. There's a story about a man who died and met Saint Peter at the gates of heaven, and Saint Pete said, "But before you meet with God, I thought I should tell you we've looked at your life." And you really didn't do anything particular good or bad. We're not sure what to do with you. Can you tell us anything you did to help us make our minds up? And the newly arrived soul thought for a moment and replied, "Yeah, once I was driving along and came upon a woman who was being harassed by a group of bikers. So I pulled over, got my tire iron out, and went up to the leader of the bikers. He was a big, muscular, hairy guy with tattoos all over his body and a ring pierced through his nose. Well, I tore the ring out of his nose and told him that if he and his gang had better stop bothering this woman or they would have to deal with me." St. Pete said, "Wow, I'm impressed. When did this happen?" "About 2 minutes ago," the man replied. There's a lot of jokes out there about heaven, if you will. But the reality is, as we look at life and ultimately look at death, it truly is an issue that all of us need to come to grips with of what is my eternity. The reality is that most of the world's religions offer some perspective about life after death, with kind of a fundamental similarity between them. And it has to do with a reward or punishment based on earthly conduct that gets you in one or the other, or whatever that reward is. And unfortunately, a lot of folks look at Christianity as the same. But the reality is it isn't. It's not about what we have done that gets us to heaven. It's about what we did who gave us ultimately the possibility to spend an eternity with a holy, pure God. It's not based on our rewards, but what Christ did in his finished work on the cross. And that's why Paul says in 1 Corinthians 15, "Death has been swallowed up in victory. Where, O death, is your victory? Where, O death, is your sting? The sting of death is sin, and the power of sin is the law. But thanks be to God who gives us through the victory of our Lord Jesus Christ." It is not a matter of what happens after this life. And again, ultimately, 100% of us need to determine where our eternity is. But death has been defeated for those who have accepted Christ, and only for those who have accepted Christ, because only Christ defeated sin, Satan, and hell. And so I do encourage you, one, to know your destiny, be confident in your faith that Christ and Christ alone is our salvation, but also pray for those that maybe you can share with of the truth of what happens after this life. And so my prayer for you is that God would just open your heart and your eyes to be able to give the good news of Jesus Christ to someone who may just be struggling with this life and therefore with eternity. My prayers are with you. Please let us know if there's anything specifically we can pray for. God bless.